Welcome to Thoughts Can Change Your Life with me, Reverend Lee. Today, we're going on a similar theme, and that life is all about expansion, and death is about contraction. Excitement for life is when we expand. Boredom or depression is when we contract. Do you sort of get the feeling here? Are you really sort of getting the feeling here? Everything that happens in our life experience is there to grow our level of awareness. And the greater our level of awareness becomes, the possibility of greater experience happens. Because the more you're aware of, the more possibilities exist in front of you. The less you are aware, the less possibilities are there. This is something that's become very clear to me, that if you surround yourself with people with very limited perspective, very limited thinking, that are pretty set in their ways, there's not going to be an expansive experience with that. The experience is going to be quite the opposite of that. It will not be expansive at all. It'll be stagnant or contracting. The whole idea that people say, I want to go back and live in the happier times. They weren't happier times, folks. You just have a selective memory. Because no matter when you were living, there was always as much contrast as support. You were always supported as much as you were challenged. But we forget that. Our memory is very picky about what it chooses to bring forth. We like to think that things were better. We were just as challenged as we are today. In fact, I think today my challenges are much greater than they were before, because my level of awareness has expanded. And so in order to be challenged, my level of awareness has to be challenged more. And so one of the things that I asked the people, I said, in our gatherings yesterday at Agape, I asked a question. Why do you want to be alive? It's a really good question to ask yourself. Why do you want to be alive? Mine is very simple. I want to be alive to become and experience a greater level of awareness, to experience greater life experiences. I want to do that every moment to the day that I die. I want to continually be expanding my level of awareness. In other words, I want to fully live. Expansion is about fully living. Contraction is about not living. It's about dying. It's about fear. It's about depression. It's about anxiety. And so, as I've talked about before, you want to surround yourself with people who are expanding. You want to surround yourself with people who are asking you questions that are expansive in nature. You don't want people that just blindly agree with everything you say and you sit there and you have a pity party. Who wants to sit around and really have a pity party? Go ahead, raise your hands, because probably we're all doing it in some form or fashion. Let's not pretend we're all saints. We're as much sinners as we are saints, and we're as much saints as we are sinners. It goes back to the whole premise of everything that we talk about here at Agape, and that is there is always balance. Always, we just don't see it. It's like, for example, right now, the stock market's taking a huge dip. There are as many people making money as there are people losing money, because some people are betting on the shorts. Isn't it interesting how that works? It's true about everything in life. The question you've got to ask yourself, am I expanding in my life? Are the relationships I am having with people, are they expansive in nature? Is my job allowing me to expand? Is my pursuit of wealth expansive or contracting to me? Is how I use my money expansive or contracting to me? What about my primary relationship? Does my partner give me the freedom to be me and to expand? Or am I expected to behave in a certain fashion, in a certain manner, and I've given into that perspective, into those demands. And so now my job is about pleasing my partner. And in doing so, I've forgotten who I am. That's a relationship that's dying. A relationship that's growing is one where the partners give each other the freedom to expand, to grow, to become more. Expansive relationships do not have jealousy. Expansive relationships are not there to fill needs. That is one of the key reasons. That's the number 2 reason why relationships fail. Because people enter into relationships to have their needs filled. And no one can fill your needs but you. Isn't that interesting? But we bought into the illusion. We're not whole without another person. We got to need someone. No, you don't need to need anything. I choose to be with my partner. I choose to be in a relationship where we give each other freedom. I choose that we can both be authentic and accept our differences. I choose to experience the fun of the relationship and the challenge of the relationship, because I have no other choice but to choose the balance, choose the contrast, because it will be there. Then I ask the question, with all of that choosing, is it to expand? Is it to expand? Anita says, relationships with yourself, I believe, is priority number 1. For you can either be really good or really bad to yourself. Dead on, Anita. You've got that locked in. Self-love, everything begins and ends with self-love. Just begins and ends with everything. And Johanna comes in and says, the more I ask questions, the more I realize I don't know. What about ignorance is bliss? It takes work to be aware all the time. It takes a lot of work. Ignorance is bliss. I love that statement. Because the more ignorant you are, maybe the happier you are. Ignorance can be interpreted in many ways. I believe, for me, the definition of humble is this. If there is an infinite universe, I believe there is. If there is infinite wisdom, I believe there is. Then when I look at the wisdom that I have demonstrated in my life, I realize it is so minuscule compared to the wisdom that is out there, that I realize, as you just said, Johanna, I realize how much I don't know. And when I can accept that there's so much I don't know, I think that's the state of being humble. And I think it's not a bad state. I think it's very realistic. Infinite wisdom, and you have what? 2 or 3 million pieces of information? I'll give you that much. You know, what do they say? A human being on average thinks 60,000 thoughts a day, and 90 to 95% of those thoughts that you think every day are the same thoughts you thought yesterday. Interesting, isn't it? So how much do you really know? And then you go from the aspect of not what do I know, what's true? That's a whole other discussion that we've had on several occasions, because I don't know what ultimate truth is. How do I know the infinite? That's the only truth I believe that exists, but I don't know it because I can't experience it. What I do know is relative truth. Relative meaning based on my perspective, based on my belief center, things I hear, experience, and that I believe to be true. But it's relative. It's relative to a belief. We are so repetitive, Anita. Our lives are constant habits. Here's one of the key things that we teach at Agape all the time. Create some new habits that support expansion. Create some new habits about being in kindness. Create some new habits of being in love and accepting. Create some new habits about creating greater abundance and being of greater service to others. This way you don't have to think about them. They're habits. Why not use habits to benefit your life, to expand your life? Have a habit of meditating every day. Have a habit of deep breathing and connecting with the breath every day. Have a habit of drinking water every day. Have a habit of eating live, healthy foods. Have a habit of being in relationships that grow and challenge you. Have a habit of taking a walk. Simple habits, and change your life. Remember, folks, life expands. Death contracts. Ask yourself, which path am I on? And do I want to be on that path? Until tomorrow, create this as your best day ever. And know I accept you and love you just like you are. Until tomorrow, aloha.